Are you a nepo baby? Yes, you are. Well, at least there's a part of you that is. There's a part of you that never needs to worry about your bank account or paying rent or the price of gas. There's a part of you that creates just to create, that buys designer perfume just because you want to smell good and you do not worry about the price tag at all. There's a part of you that believes that every restaurant should know your name, every hotel should upgrade your room, and every candle should be diptyque because why wouldn't it be? There's a part of you that refuses to chase because you know that you just attract. You're magnetic. So who is this diva? Honey, it's your Venus. And today we are talking about your Venus in your birth chart, what it means for you, and how it illuminates the way that you love and what you value and how you manifest abundance and even your aesthetic. Yes. So pull up a chair because today we are going to get into why understanding this glamorous little gender neutral goddess might completely change the way you think about your life forever. The tea is served and honey, it's expensive. Hello, hello, and welcome to AstroloTea with Aliza Kelly. I'm your host and your spiritual friend, Aliza Kelly, and I am so happy that you are here, my community. Welcome to our Wednesday tea party. In case you didn't know, let me elucidate that every week I bring you 2 piping hot new episodes. On Wednesdays, we'll always have a tea party and you'll always be invited. This is where we unpack different parts of astrology that actually shape your life, like Venus, that is all about love and money and values and what it means for you, because yes, it's in your birth chart and we're gonna talk about it this week, today, at the tea party. And then on Mondays, just FYI, I always have your weekly brew, and this is where I decode the most pivotal astrological events of the week. We have a theme of the week. This week's theme is the plot thickens. Woo! And I have personalized horoscopes, obviously, for you every Monday, so you know exactly what is in store for you and how you can be prepared so you are not scared. Now, before I get into today's brew, I just want to say, community, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for supporting AstroloTea. If you haven't had a chance yet, make this your moment to rate, review, and follow our show. Not only does this help others discover the show, which is really cool because, you know, the astrology girlies are taking over, but I also love reading all of your comments and finding out what all of this feels and means and how it resonates for you. I want to know what your Venus is. I want to know what hits. I want to know what slays. I love this community with my whole heart, and I am just so grateful to be here. Okay, are you ready for the brew? Of course you are. It's piping hot, and the tea party begins right now. Let's go. Welcome back, divas. I am so excited for today's episode. We are going to be talking about one of my absolute favorite planets in astrology, in our solar system. You know her. You love her. A round of applause for Venus. Hello. Now, I know that there might be some of you baddies out there who are like, Venus, that's just about love. What else could there be? It is about love. It's true. Venus does rule romance, but it's not because Venus is only associated with matters of the heart. This is actually where we can all just maybe take a bigger sip, okay? A slurp, if you will, but don't be disgusting because this is Venus that we're talking about. But I invite you to really drink in the fact that Venus is not just about how you are compatible or incompatible with someone. It's about your relationship with pleasure, your relationship with beauty, your relationship with creativity, your relationship with money, because overarchingly, Venus is your relationship with value. It's everything and anything that you believe has value, which means understanding your Venus is understanding what you actually consider important and meaningful and significant. And yes, romance is a reflection of your values. So understanding your value, what you value, the intrinsic value that is Venus, is a critical piece in finding yourself in the right relationship with the right person who makes you feel valued. Now, I like to say that Venus is the Marie Antoinette of astrology pre-revolution with a head, okay? She expects to be fanned with palms whilst enjoying like little Viennese pastries. She wants a life that is just easily and effortlessly served to her on a silver platter, right? She knows that she will always have what she wants and what she needs because she's the ultimate nepo baby, right? She came into this kingdom, and in her highest vibration, she knows that she does not need to apologize for being fabulous and having those wants and needs and pleasures and desires and ensuring that they are met at the snap of a finger. And actually, that is the lesson. That is the lesson for all of us when we are working with Venus, because there's not really any other planet in our astrological soap opera that's doing what Venus does. Not to mention that Venus is just one of the two primary female archetypes of the major celestial bodies that we speak to, the other being the moon. And while the moon is how you are nurtured on this very primal, foundational level, Venus is not about surviving. It is about thriving. It is about you living the best version of your life. Your needs are already being covered, right? That's the moon. That's Mama Moon. This is like your rich auntie coming in and sweeping you off your feet for a weekend that you will never forget. I mean, Venus believes that you should actually have an elevated life from what you are currently living. Venus's job is not to make sure that you just feel like you have a roof over your head and that you are going to be able to have dinner, right? Like, that's the moon. Venus wants you to really glow up. Venus wants you to be fabulous and to know that there is nothing wrong with the desire and the expectation that life is supposed to be beautiful and glamorous and magical and wonderful. I mean, how can we argue with this, right? And this confidence, this sense of privilege really extends to all matters of life, according to Venus, right? It extends definitely to romance and falling in love and the confidence and the gift of feeling financially satiated. It applies to having a gorgeous Nancy Meyer's kitchen with fresh flowers in it, if that's your aesthetic. It applies to having clothes that make you feel like the hottest person alive. Maybe it shows up for you as like biting into the most delicious tomato in August. Maybe it's listening to your favorite song in the car, windows down, like you are singing at the top of your lungs, screaming the lyrics and you feel free. Maybe it's laughing so hard with your best friend that your abs are hurting for days after. Maybe it's the ability to travel to very magical, enchanted places and just have all of the time to sightsee and explore and learn a new language. Venus is all about the beauty of being alive. Venus is the celebration of life and recognizing that obviously this is going to look different for everyone, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But Venus wants you to know that those expectations are well earned and deserved. So yeah, Venus covers so much more than just compatibility. Venus is also associated with art. Art gives our emotions shape, and it allows us to experience life through these different lenses and qualities and skills and talents. It allows us to really participate in the joy of being entertained, right? And create things to entertain. Venus is also associated with physical pleasure, sexual pleasure, because pleasure reminds us that we have these beautiful bodies that we should be treating like temples, right? And that we do deserve to feel divine within them. Venus is about aesthetics because every single choice we make says something about who we are and what we appreciate, the way that we are perceived, how we want to be perceived, how we want to be experienced and experience the world at large, the clothes that you wear, the way that you decorate your home, the restaurants you love going to, the gifts you love to give, the gifts you love to get, the ones that you actually like, the people that you are drawn to, the way that you flirt, the way that you receive compliments, the way that you give compliments, your ideal first date experience, that is all Venus. And that's tea. Now, one of my favorite ways to think about Venus is through the lens of magnetism. Mars, of course, is the planet of action and thrusting and desire. And it's the story of us chasing, right? It's the story of us pursuing. But Venus is what naturally draws us in and what is naturally drawn to us. Venus has a way of creating attraction without ever needing to force anything, which is why Venus is so beautiful for manifestation. And it's a wonderful archetype to incorporate into your manifestation abundance practice because Venus knows that everything comes to her as it should. So depending on what your Venus is in your chart, that is also going to unlock some of your natural abilities to manifest really without even having to lift a finger. Now, astronomically, Venus is also incredibly fascinating. After the sun and the moon, which are luminaries, not even planets, Venus is the brightest object in our night sky, sometimes in our dusk or morning sky as well. Like Venus is really bright. It's the brightest planet, depending on where Venus is in her cycle, because yes, honey, every diva has a cycle. Venus either appears before sunrise or just after sunset. So she has these two different archetypes that are associated with her appearance, the morning star and the evening star version of her expressions. What's so interesting to me, and I think about often, is the fact that our ancient ancestors believed that these were actually two completely different celestial bodies. And then through time and science and discovery and observation, we brought them together and recognized that we were actually looking at the same planet, just appearing in these two different ways, right? Like an outfit change, how glamorous, like we all have this duality. Tank, there are no coincidences, right? Venus, which is about the way that we expect to live a beautiful life, also has different ways that she pursues that and approaches that and believes in it. And interestingly, this switch actually happens during Venus retrograde, which occurs every 18 months and lasts for 40 days and 40 nights. And historians believe that these numerous references to 40 days and 40 nights in the Bible are actually allusions to Venus's retrograde cycle, because the mythology around any reference to 40 days or 40 nights is really a story of rebirth and a resurrection and some sort of a return, which is what Venus is doing when she's moving from an evening star into a morning star, right? Like we're seeing her through a different lens. We're seeing her through a different narrative, whether she's leading the sun or following the sun. J'adore. The symbolism is stunning. Also, what's your lucky number? Because Venus's lucky number is 8. And every 8 years, during a Venus retrograde, Venus returns to the exact same place as it was 8 years prior. There's like 1 or 2 degrees difference. So it's a very slow moving cycle, right? And if you were to trace all of those Venus retrogrades in the sky, it would create this gorgeous, almost perfect 5-petaled flower, a rosette. I'm sorry, what? The planet associated with beauty and love and harmony literally creates a flower in the heavens? I mean, come on. Tank, there are no coincidences. As above, so below. You cannot make this shit up. We see patterns reflected everywhere when we start looking for them, because that is how mysticism and magical things work. And to me, this really speaks to the fact that Venus is not just the goddess of desiring things. Venus is also a very high vibration of spirituality. Venus recognizes the spiritual power and significance of love. Now, you should know that Venus also never strays very far from the sun. Venus can only ever actually be either your sun sign or the 2 zodiac signs before it or the 2 zodiac signs after it. So Venus is always going to be within the bounds of the same section of the sky as when you were born, as your sun sign. The sun, of course, is your identity. And symbolically, again, like another beautiful way of understanding the role that Venus plays in our life, because Venus is a reminder that value is part of our intrinsic identity. The sun, our identity, Venus, our values, they need to stay close together. They cannot be far apart. Venus is always near us because our values and our pleasures are not separate from who we are. The things that we love reveal our truth, our identity, our core, our soul, and vice versa. But now, honey, the moment we've all been waiting for. Let us talk about Venus's mythology, because you know we are here for the drama. We need that classical antiquity tea. We need the lore. And honey, buckle up, because community, for a planet that is so elegante, Venus's origin story is quite metal, actually quite hardcore. Okay, so now you may recall that Uranus, the planet of revolution and innovation and shocking things in mythology, was considered a primordial god who was, in fact, Saturn's daddy. And moreover, Uranus was Saturn's fucked up daddy, who actually started the whole fucked up daddy chain of generational trauma that passed down through the line. But I digress, okay? Uranus was patient zero, the original fucked up daddy. Uranus was the first ruler of the universe who ruled over everything. And because he had so much power, he got very psychotic when his wife, Gaia, yes, Gaia, Mother Earth, became pregnant. And he forced Gaia into perpetual labor and prevented her from actually birthing her children. Horrifying. But not only that, but Uranus was also constantly impregnating her while this was going on. A true monster. So Gaia had all of these babies suspended in her. She was suffering. She was in agony. She was in pain. And she petitioned her children to ambush Uranus, but they were all like, no, I don't want to. I'm scared. No one would do it, but Saturn would. Saturn did. Saturn said, I'm up for the fucking challenge. Interestingly, Saturn is actually the hero of this story. So Gaia made Saturn a sickle, and one night, when Uranus thought he was about to get down with Gaia, Saturn thrust out with his sickle, castrated Uranus, and the big symbolic reveal here was that that was the action that separated sky from earth, created the world as we know it today, okay? The origin of it all. But I know what you're thinking. I know what you are curious about. You're wondering, hey, what happened to Uranus's castrated testicles? Because why wouldn't you be wondering that, right? Like, everything checks out, except where did those go? Well, to satisfy that curiosity, they were yeeted into the sea, and it was from the blood and the semen and the tissue that obviously Venus was born. Duh, of course. And that is actually why we see so many images of Venus emerging from the sea, which is tea. Now, this is believed to reflect the symbolism of the sea being very fertile and capable of producing life on its own. But for me, the message that I always sort of receive from this story is that despite the violence and the horrors of the world, there is always love that can emerge. That even against the grimmest circumstances and conditions, that magic is possible, and that beauty isn't actually born from perfection, but it's born from severed testicles. No, I'm kidding, not really. It actually emerges because life is always going to continue despite it all. And when life continues, it's an opportunity for us to find new ways of experiencing the world, experiencing what love and connection is, and finding new hope, really, despite it all. And that, my gorgeous little divas, is what Venus is doing in your chart. It is emerging despite it all. At the moment you were born, you had your own personal Venus emerging, positioned ever so gorgeously in the sky, occupying a zodiac sign that ultimately reveals your relationship with love and values and beauty and pleasure. Venus in your birth chart describes how you love, what you value, how you experience pleasure and delight. It reveals what you actually preference, how you relate to abundance, how you create abundance, how you become a magnet for abundance, and ultimately what helps you feel most connected to yourself. So as we move through Venus, through each zodiac sign, I want you to really stay curious. Think about your Venus from an aesthetic perspective. Think about it from a financial perspective. Think about it from a romantic perspective. And most importantly, think about it from a nepo baby perspective, okay? Treat yourself to the thought experiment of being a nepo baby who really does not have to stress about your foundational needs because you know that they will always be covered. Listen, it's a thought experiment, okay? Give yourself permission to indulge in that mental exercise. If you had all of the time and money in the world to really double down on your values, what would they be? Because that ultimately is what Venus wants to be doing, and that's what Venus wants you to be doing. Venus doesn't want you to just fall in love with another person because that's going to complete you. Venus wants you to fall in love with yourself. And while we may not all have the privilege of being a true nepo baby in this lifetime, by understanding ourselves on this level, by understanding our Venus on this level, we can unlock potential that helps us understand our priorities, our interests, our passions, how we should be directing our abundance and manifestations, what we really desire. Because honey, if there is one planet who really knows how to get what she wants, it's Venus. In just a moment, we are going to go through every single Venus placement sign by sign and explore what it means for you as it relates to your values, your aesthetics, your taste, your romance, but most importantly, what you deem worthy of reverence. We will be right back after this short break. Welcome back, community. Let us get into your Venus sign, why it matters, what it's doing. So we're going to go sign by sign, okay? We're going to explore Venus through every single placement. And it's really like, what costume is Venus wearing? And how you should center this powerful, magical, abundant, beautiful energy in your life. And I also want to say, community, be sure to listen to the Venus placements of your partner, of your parents, of your best friends, of your children, of the people that you interact with in your life, because Venus also is going to show you what they value. And it's going to give you such quality information as to actually what they expect from your dynamic, from your partnership. And low key, it is the best guide to gift giving that you could ever receive. Like literally, do not gift for somebody's sun sign, gift for their Venus, and soon you will know what every single Venus sign actually wants as a present. Such tea. Let's do it. If your Venus is in Aries, your values begin with courage. Venus in Aries does not wait around for permission to desire something. No, no, no. Venus in Aries knows what it wants, and it knows how to go after it. Venus in Aries falls in love with possibility, with momentum, with the thrill of the chase. It values independence and authenticity and people who know exactly who they are and what they want. There is something so wonderfully refreshing about Venus in Aries because it is so direct. It is assertive, it's energetic, and it's sort of like Venus as a roided out bro. But Venus is not a roided out bro. So technically, Venus feels a little uncomfy in the sign. Like Venus is not usually like this, right? The Venus archetype is all about like leisurely laying on a chaise lounge. But because Aries is ruled by Mars, Venus in Aries finds herself experimenting with the chase, right? Venus is considered to be in its detriment in this sign because typically Venus wants to attract, but when Venus is in Aries, yeah, she is experimenting with chasing too. But there is something very sensual about knowing what you want and not being afraid to go after it. You don't always have to play it cool and be passive, right? Like, you don't have to be demure. You don't have to be a damsel in distress. You can have the confidence to pursue your interests and know that what you want is something that should be in your life, and you're going to do what it takes to make sure it's in there. And I think that there is something incredibly inspiring about Venus and Aries, and that frankly, from like a traditional astrology perspective, this needs to be reconsidered. Aesthetically, Venus in Aries loves to make a statement because Venus in Aries is not afraid to take up space, right? Venus in Aries gravitates towards bold colors, looking very hot in athleisure, and just like always kind of keeping people on their toes and taking them by surprise. Venus in Aries is not afraid to show a little skin. I feel like Venus and Aries people are always sort of like wearing something very low cut or very leggy. And I'm like, oh my goodness, okay, go off. And it's because Venus and Aries wants to walk into a room and have people be like, who is that? Because that is a form of winning too. Now, the lifelong lesson for Venus and Aries is recognizing that vulnerability is brave, okay? And sometimes this placement becomes so focused on winning that it forgets what happens once you get the reward. And if you are manifesting and you have a Venus in Aries, remember that this placement is really centered around action, but also requires gratitude. So set the intention, visualize the outcome, make it happen because you can, but also recognize that attracting abundance is demonstrating to the universe that once you receive that recognition, once you receive the accolades or the reward, that you have deep reverence for it. There's something so magical and spiritually elevated about acting as if the door is already open and just like strutting your way through it. And the more that you strut your way through it, the more that you're going to find that that opens another door and another door and another door. And then, oh my God, like you're in a palace? Yes, honey, you are in a palace and anything is possible. And it's all because you made it happen. If your Venus is in Taurus, congratulations, honey. You are a Venusian through and through. Venus rules Taurus, which means this is one of the placements where Venus feels completely at home, totally comfortable, free to be herself. Venus in Taurus values comfort and consistency and quality. This is a placement that understands the range of luxury. So yeah, we're talking about like stunning heels, but we're also talking about a home-cooked meal. We are talking about thick, creamy body lotion. We're talking about fresh flowers. And we are also talking about stunning heels. Venus in Taurus wants a life that really feels delicious in every single way it possibly can. Because Taurus is an earth sign, this placement has a very grounded relationship with abundance. It's not usually trying to chase something that's fleeting and short term, because Venus in Taurus recognizes that wealth is cultivated over time. Venus in Taurus loves to invest. It loves to collect, especially beautiful things. It really is focused on building a life that becomes richer and more abundant every passing year. This placement knows that value compounds, right? So whether we are talking about money or relationships or self-worth, like we are trying to generate more of it through time. Aesthetically, Venus in Taurus always looks expensive, even when it isn't. There is this appreciation for the classics with Venus in Taurus, beautiful fabrics, heirloom jewelry, hair that is just like perfectly placed and positioned, glowy skin, and anything that feels like elegant without trying too hard, even though if we're being honest, Venus in Taurus does have a little bit of like a, ooh, shiny things quality as well, because like, you know, it's attracted to things that are beautiful. Fundamentally, Venus in Taurus really does have incredible taste because it understands that beauty should feel lived in and not just trend driven. And that means that Venus in Taurus is sort of giving this like perpetual Audrey Hepburn chic and willing to invest in things that are going to last a lifetime. The lesson for Venus in Taurus is acknowledging that there is a difference between peace and complacency. Sometimes Venus in Taurus hold on to people or jobs or situations or relationships merely because they are familiar. And there's definitely a fear of change because if you change, like, what if you don't like it? But what if you love it? Everything is always a risk-reward balance, right? So ask yourself, Are you honoring your values, or are you just trying to protect what you already have? There's a difference there. For those with Venus in Taurus who are interested in manifesting, I invite you to really tap in to the superpower of relaxation. You never need to chase, okay? Set your intentions and just trust that through your ease and your reverence for the universe and yourself and this intrinsic understanding that you deserve to live a beautiful life, like, you will receive the things that you want by steadily chipping away at them through time and never really having to push too hard. Tend to your goals the same way that you would your wardrobe, okay? Take care of them, fold them, make sure they're hanging up, relish them, appreciate them, because this placement attracts abundance by really recognizing that blessings come to you when you have the ease and gratitude and the appreciation of knowing that life is meant to be beautiful. So why shouldn't your life be beautiful? If your Venus is in Gemini, your core value is curiosity. This is a Venus that falls in love with ideas before anything else. It's really drawn and attracted to intelligence and wit and humor, people who really tickle you. You can talk to anyone about anything, and that is also a massive turn on for you, because being able to talk to anyone about anything is one of your values, right? Venus in Gemini knows that chemistry always begins with good banter and a little mental stimulation and lots of witty, flirting texting. Because Gemini is ruled by Mercury, communication is an expression of love. This placement sends memes as love letters. It texts you articles at 2 o'clock in the morning because Venus in Gemini wants you to know what they're thinking about. Venus in Gemini wants to explore ideas together. Big ideas, little ideas, good ideas, bad ideas. Venus in Gemini is a reminder that asking questions is actually an expression of intimacy and closeness. And feeling understood, on a core level, is also feeling like you are being heard and received. So that exchange of information is really paramount for someone with this placement. On an aesthetic level, Venus in Gemini loves versatility. The closet is full of different personalities, because why would we commit to just one, right? One day we're doing a vintage thing, the next day we are sporty spice, and then we're business casual in a blazer, and then suddenly it's 2006 and indie sleaze is alive and well again, and we're back with the Kanye glasses that have the little shades on them, and everyone is like, honey, what are you doing? And Venus in Gemini is like, what? It's cool. This placement loves to accessorize. It loves the playful details. It loves the unexpected combinations. It loves anything that actually promotes this feeling of youthfulness and silliness and experimentation. The lesson, of course, with Venus in Gemini is learning that depth is just as important as novelty. Venus in Gemini can sometimes become so enchanted, so titillated by new experiences that it forgets that familiarity is also very beautiful and very meaningful and very powerful. So when you are really considering what is holding your attention, recognize the fact that it does not necessarily need to be something new. It could also be something deep. It could be something that you are tending to through time and that you are sort of peeling back like an onion. If you have Venus and Gemini in your chart, your words carry tremendous power. So I invite you to always use your words in a manifestation practice. Write down your dreams, speak them out loud, tell people what you want, and don't be shy about asking for connections, because conversations with the right people at the right time can really move the needle for you. And sometimes the opportunity that you've been waiting for begins with the most casual chat at a weird happy hour that you didn't know if you were going to make, but somehow you wound up there talking to this person that no one else is talking to, and the next day you have a promotion. If your Venus is in Cancer, your values are rooted in care and sensitivity, and that feeling of connecting with people who make you feel like you are home. This placement understands that love isn't measured by what we say. nearly as much as it is the energetics that we create. Venus in Cancer values emotional safety and belonging and feeling like they are welcome and invited out of their shell to actually be themselves for the first time ever in their life, to say things and do things that may make them feel shy or embarrassed. But when Venus in Cancer feels recognized and seen and loved, like Venus in Cancer can shine. Venus in Cancer is out here making you home-cooked meals, handwritten cards in like the most complicated calligraphy, learning how to knit for you. Literally, Venus in Cancer learned how to knit for you because they want to show you that they are willing to take the time to make you something by hand, by crabby claw, just because they think you're cool. And the least that you could do is ask them how their day was in return. I mean, come on. Is that too much to ask? Now, Cancer is ruled by the moon, so Venus in Cancer is tidal, right? It waxes and wanes, it ebbs and flows. It's very sentimental. Objects carry memories. It's giving collecting rocks and seashells at the shore. Recipes are heirlooms. Anything that is made from scratch is so much more sacred and so much more important than anything that's expensive, because the handmade aspect of it really represents the time and intentionality. On an aesthetic level, Venus in Cancer has a softness that is just so effortless and beautiful. It loves cozy sweaters, vintage treasures, jewelry that has been passed down through generations, delicate fabrics. It loves silks and satins, taffeta. It loves beautiful kitchens. It loves candlelight. It loves environments that actually feel lived in, but that are also just like a safe place to rest and relax. It's giving Nancy Meyers, okay? There is something that is just so intrinsically cozy about the Venus in Cancer lifestyle because it is centered around the energetics of safety. Of course, Venus in Cancer has to always remember that caring for oneself is more important than caring for everyone else and showing everyone else how much you care about them. Sometimes Venus in Cancer can become so invested and almost so like spitefully committed to proving the fact that they are a lover, that Venus in Cancer forgets their own needs. They forget the fact that, hey, Venus in Cancer deserves some attention from themselves too. And then, of course, because of this, they can end up becoming very crappy, maybe a little passive aggressive, walking on their side like the crab, because it's like, I did all of this for you, and what did you give me in return? Nothing. So ask yourself, with Venus in Cancer, are you pouring out because you want something in return? Or are you pouring out because you genuinely love making macaroni art for someone on a Saturday afternoon? Only you can answer that. Now, to really optimize your manifestations, if you have Venus in Cancer, focus on creating the feeling before chasing the thing. What I mean by that is that this placement is going to guide its manifestations through emotional alignment and gratitude and the sense that you are really just worthy of receiving that abundance. So consider what actually energetically makes you feel satisfied, right? Fill your home with things that make you feel comforted and protected. Cook things for yourself that make you feel nourished. Light candles just to create an ambiance, right? Call a person who helps you remember like who you are and how far you've come and just like gives you that validation back. And that does not need to be your crush. Create an energetic space for you that makes you feel like you can do anything. Create an atmosphere of belonging. And then that becomes the magnet for everything else that you are calling in. If your Venus is in Leo, your greatest value is joy, period. This is a placement that knows that life is meant to be celebrated as much and as often as possible. Venus in Leo loves romance and creativity and generosity, experiences that really help stitch together a life that is fabulous and cinematic and theatrical, and yes, maybe a little dramatic too. Venus in Leo does not care to play it cool. It does not want to do demure. It does not want to be coy. If this placement loves you, you're going to know it. If this placement is interested in you, you're going to know it. If this placement is throwing you a birthday party, baby, you are going to know it, because someone is going to be popping out of your birthday cake. And then you better tell that Venus in Leo that that was the best party that you have ever been to in your entire life, or else. Leo is ruled by the sun, so with Venus in Leo, Venus really understands that love is going to be intertwined with identity. It is going to be intertwined with that life force energy. Every thoughtful gift that Venus in Leo receives, every compliment, every thoughtfully, carefully, curatorially planned date, it's all a measure of how much you care about the Venus in Leo person, and therefore how much you care about them at large. Venus in Leo reminds us that big and beautiful, bountiful expressions of abundance aren't just ego. It's not just about like how much it costs or the trappings. It's actually a statement about your own lust for life and how much you care about the person that you are honoring. On an aesthetic level, Venus in Leo loves a little bit of glamour. It's gold jewelry, it's big hair, it's statement pieces. Believe it or not, I am not Venus in Leo, even though perhaps my outfit might tell you otherwise today. Venus in Leo, yes, loves a designer handbag from time to time. It loves something unique, maybe a little faux fur in the winter to the grocery store just to make it a little more film noir. Venus in Leo knows that how we dress is also a form of self-expression, a form of artistry. And sometimes being a little extra, extra, extra is just what the doctor ordered. Of course, Venus in Leo does need to recognize that value is something that is intrinsic to you, to every being, right? It's not something that gets flipped on or off like a switch. So even if Venus in Leo feels underappreciated or unrecognized from time to time, and then that can lead to a massive Venus in Leo meltdown, which does happen from time to time, a really evolved Venus in Leo energy recognizes that this placement is a steady light source. And yeah, every so often there might be a little shadow. That's okay. That's fine. That happens from time to time. Recognition feels wonderful, yes. Being in the spotlight is delightful, but loving yourself even in moments of darkness, that is gorgeous. Venus in Leo always attracts abundance by demonstrating that inherent lust and love and appreciation for life, that expression of happiness and joy, that desire to want to pop a bottle, to want to keep partying, to celebrate. Like, that's not just because Venus in Leo doesn't want to go home. That's because Venus in Leo like truly appreciates the fact that life is this precious, sacred thing, and they want to create as much fun and togetherness as possible. So the more that someone who has this placement does to create and sustain a life that feels gorgeous and fulfilling and satisfying and gratifying and playful and delightful, and yes, dramatic too, the more Venus in Leo is going to be able to direct opportunities to match that energy, match thy freak, and the more abundance you are going to see blossom all around you. If your Venus is in Virgo, your values are rooted in devotion. Venus in Virgo understands that love lives in the details, in the minutia, baby. It remembers your coffee order. It notices when you're overwhelmed. It notices when dishes are piling up in your sink. It knows how to send calendar invites and fold laundry and edit your resume and still at the end of the day be down for a little kinky fun when the lights get low. Hello. Venus in Virgo knows that showing up consistently for someone, actually helping someone when they need help, is one of the greatest love languages that there is. It's called acts of service, baby. Ever heard of it? Okay, hello. Venus in Virgo wrote the book on it. Now, Technically, Venus is in her fall in Virgo, but don't panic. This doesn't mean that Venus is weak. It means that in this placement, Venus is exploring some of the nuances of its expression of value, right? Venus in Virgo is occupying a sign that is typically a bit of a perfectionist, classic Virgo stuff. And Venus wants to indulge, right? Virgo wants to refine, wants to make sure everything is just right. Venus is like, don't worry about it. You don't have to worry. You don't have to care. Everything is good. Just relax, let loose. Virgo, relax. Are you kidding me? So Venus and Virgo on a bad day can struggle with feeling worthy of the desires and the pleasures and the expectations that it has. Venus in Virgo feels like it needs to prove itself in order to receive those things. But when Venus in Virgo can graduate from that loop and start to accept the fact that displays of affection are just addendums to one's intrinsic value, we shift from an analytical Venus into a very astute Venus. Venus says, let's buy the expensive candle, but Venus in Virgo says, let's buy the best smelling candle. You see what I mean? It's discernment, baby. This is taste. Now, on an aesthetic level, Venus in Virgo loves things that are beautifully curated, beautifully considered, very well made, tailored clothing, crisp, white, ironed shirts, clean skincare, right? Neutral palettes, beautiful notebooks, a perfectly organized pantry. Venus in Virgo dies. This placement really appreciates craftsmanship because Venus in Virgo knows that details matter and details are a reflection of values. And if you have Venus in Virgo in your chart and you want to take your manifestations to the next level, honey, remember that small actions are extraordinarily powerful. You do not need to reinvent the wheel. Don't be afraid to establish a routine or a ritual or a system that gives you a spell of repetition. When you do something over and over again, you generate abundance through that energetic frequency, through your intentionality. Every act is an expression of magic. And this is exactly where that Venus in Virgo attention to detail really pays off. Gorgeous Venus. Yes, yes, yes. When we come back, we are getting into Venus through the second half of the zodiac, Libra through Pisces. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after a very short break. Hello, stunning lovers, community beauties. We are back with Venus through the signs, so let's keep it going. And remember, obviously listen for your own sign, but be sure to listen to the signs of the people that you know and love, or that you are trying to get to know and love. Kicking us off again, let's talk about Venus in Libra. If your Venus is in Libra, hello, you Oscar Wilde slaying aesthete. Venus rules Libra, so this is another placement where Venus gets to fully luxuriate in her own fabulousness, okay? Now, the other Venus-ruled sign is an earth sign, and it's Taurus, which is very anchored around the physical world. But Venus in Libra speaks to the concept of beauty and love and harmony and partnership on a cerebral level. This is an air sign, so it's air energy. It's really giving like fangirl, right? Like, I'm just a fan of love. I'm a fan of art. I'm a fan of beautiful things because there is this sort of intellectual appreciation for what that merits. This placement genuinely believes that life is better when life is beautiful. Period. So it intentionally seeks to infuse beauty into all of its conversations and relationships and surroundings and style and, yeah, the people that Venus in Libra hangs out with. Listen, Venus in Libra loves to be around beautiful people, which includes being around cutie patooties and hottie pataties. And that's a blessing, okay? We appreciate it. And because of the connection to the mind, Venus in Libra is really stimulated by values on a cognitive level. It loves eye contact from across the room. It loves sexy banter. It loves a power couple walking into a party together and people are like, oh, them two? We love to see it. Venus in Libra knows that romance itself is an art form. And like any great artist or curator, Venus in Libra wants to create compositions that really enhance the natural beauty of the work of art. Every relationship teaches Venus in Libra something about themselves, and every connection for Venus in Libra has the potential to become a true masterpiece. It's giving contrapposto, baby. Yeah, that's art history. Now, on an aesthetic level, Venus in Libra has impeccable taste, undeniably. It loves beautiful designer wear, designer shoes, and like gorgeous, well put together outfits with lots of balance. It loves an aesthetic, right? Like it loves a good style. It loves gorgeous sunglasses. It loves really decadent perfume, incredible interior design. It also loves like beautiful wine and beautiful wine glasses. Like it wants to create a museum of an experience of life. So it can do like, quiet luxury just as easily as it can do old Hollywood regal glamour, because the common denominator is always going to be elegance and taste and refinement and really creating something comprehensive and holistic. Listen, Venus in Libra doesn't want to overwhelm you. It doesn't want to like throw Versailles aesthetic in your face, but it does want to enchant you, and it does want to open up a conversation about style and fashion and art and just like the sophisticated glamour of it all. Don't call it superficial, okay? Call it super special. The lifelong lesson for Venus in Libra is realizing that beauty isn't everything. Like sometimes things do actually need to get a little ugly and messy and nasty in order for things to get back on track. And when that happens, it's not a moral failure. It's not a big deal. It's actually just life. And you can't abandon ship when that happens because, honey, it's important to find the beauty in everything. Remember Venus's mythology? Birthing from the blood and semen and tissue of Uranus's castrated testicle? You get it. Now, a little manifesting tip for my Venus and Libra friends. Collaboration is your secret weapon. Build relationships. Ask for introductions. Say yes to invitations. This placement attracts abundance through reciprocity because the right partnerships are going to change your life. They're going to change the trajectory of your life, and they're going to introduce you to things that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to access. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Yes, even when you're not totally sure what to wear. If your Venus is in Scorpio, a very intense placement that really values truth. You are not interested in anything surface level. In fact, you are turned off by anything that is just like skimming the surface, right? Anything that doesn't have depth to it, you're like, ugh, very gross. You need emotional honesty. You need unwavering loyalty. You need intimacy that completely rearranges and scrambles your entire matrix of life and completely changes every part of your being, recalibrates every cell in your body. And then you wake up the next morning and you're like, what the hell just happened? Venus in Scorpio doesn't want to know what you do for work. It wants to know what happened when you were 7 years old that still affects you to this very day. It's not trauma dumping. It's just, a first date. Whatever, no big deal. Come on. Lighten up. Now, technically, Venus is considered to be in its detriment here because Venus is in its home base in Taurus, and Scorpio is the opposite of Taurus, and Scorpio is also ruled by Mars or Pluto, and Mars and Pluto are pretty intense planets. Venus doesn't want to fight. Venus wants ease. Venus wants to relax by the pool. Mars, however, is constantly on the battlefield, and Pluto is constantly burning down another city, right? Venus is like, oh gosh, I can't deal with that. Scorpio is really on the pursuit of transforming the world around it, whereas Venus is just like, I just asked for a bouquet. Scorpio is like, actually, honey, here's a vial of blood. So Venus in Scorpio is trying to reconcile its desire for beauty and love and ease and pleasure with the depth and the intensity and the power of Scorpio. But when those can actually start to work together in this very evolved and high frequency sort of way, we know that really Venus in Scorpio taps into the power of vulnerability, which is one of the rarest currencies that we have. Now, on an aesthetic level, Venus in Scorpio loves drama, even if they won't tell you that, okay? They love expensive drama, black everything, dark lips, lace, leather, smoky eyes, vintage jewelry with a mysterious backstory. There is obviously like a range of goth in the world, but Venus in Scorpio is going to always be somewhere on the spectrum. The lifelong lesson for a Venus in Scorpio is recognizing that trust and depth and intimacy has nothing to do with control. In fact, they live in completely different universes, right? Sometimes Venus in Scorpio tries to protect itself so fiercely that it ends up accidentally blocking the intimacy that it's searching for because it's trying to micromanage a dynamic and take something that should probably just take a little bit more time to open up and turn it into something that is going to rock your world and change your life. But if Venus in Scorpio gives the relationship the time that it needs and the honesty and the depth and the truth and also just like the ease and the pleasure, then Venus in Scorpio can really have it all. It can have the intensity and it can also have the fun. And if you are manifesting with Venus in Scorpio in your chart, don't be afraid to let go of the things that are no longer reflecting your values, okay? This placement creates abundance through transformation. So endings do create opportunities for new possibilities to come through. And Venus in Scorpio is most magnetic when it stops clinging to what it's outgrown and actually starts giving itself permission to be flexible. If your Venus is in Sagittarius, honey, you better let freedom ring. This placement falls in love with possibility. It loves curiosity. It values curiosity and adventure and humor and people who make life feel big and exciting and weird and filled with twists and turns. Like Venus in Sagittarius wants to go on a ride. Venus in Sagittarius is attracted to people who are willing to like book a spontaneous flight, order a very strange thing on a menu, spend 4 hours talking about the meaning of life over one cup of coffee that's now cold, but no one noticed because, hello, you're philosophers, not baristas. Or wait, maybe you are baristas who are also philosophers. It's all very Venus and Sagittarius coded. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, so this Venus naturally believes that abundance expands through experience because it does. And j'adore because in traditional astrology, Venus is considered the lesser benefic. It's so diminutive and cute. And Jupiter is the greater benefic, so big and robust. But they're both benefics. They're both about the good things, the benes. It is all about big blessings in love and magic with both Jupiter and Venus. They work together perfectly. Every new adventure for a Venus in Sagittarius is a reminder that the world is big and filled with possibilities that are going to offer great opportunities should you just allow yourself to accept them. Venus in Sagittarius values growth because growth is what keeps life exciting and beautiful. On an aesthetic level, this is a placement that is always ready to saddle up linen, denim, cowboy boots, band t-shirts, maybe a very interesting hat that nobody else could ever pull off, a feather in your cap. Venus in Sagittarius somehow is still rocking a fedora all of these years later, but somehow it looks good on Venus in Sagittarius because they just have this like frontier, pioneer, cowboy, cowgirl, wacky thing going on. And it's like, go off. We love it. It works. We're inspired. Of course, Venus in Sagittarius has to remember that commitment does not eliminate freedom. In fact, it helps direct the adventure. Sometimes this placement keeps one foot out the door because it worries that saying yes to something means that you're going to miss out on something better. But then the next thing you know, you have said more no's than you have yes, and then your life is not as big and robust as you had hoped it was going to be. But honey, if life feels limiting when you are in partnership, whether that be romantic or just friendship, then you are with the wrong people, because the right people are always going to celebrate your wanderlust. They're always going to encourage you to seek more. So if you are manifesting and you have Venus in Sagittarius in your chart, please, honey, do not block your dreams. Give yourself permission to dream ridiculously big, outrageously big, like frighteningly so. You are someone who needs hope and optimism with every fiber of your being, even when people roll their eyes at you. Venus in Sagittarius attracts abundance because you know that no matter what, you are lucky. You will always be lucky and you will always get what you want. So mote it be. If your Venus is in Capricorn, your values are rooted in integrity. This placement is all about consistency and reliability, ambition, people whose actions actually match their words. Venus in Capricorn is not impressed by like grand declarations if people aren't following through. You know what I mean? Yeah, like romance is lovely, but talking about a 5-year plan and how you're going to write someone into the will, now that's hot. Capricorn is the ruler of Saturn, so Venus learns that beauty is obviously something that requires time. Beauty is more meaningful when it's earned over time because Saturn, in case you forgot, is literally the planet that symbolizes time, right? So this placement is one that might take a little time to warm up. It might be a placement that has a hard time sort of like having a crush on somebody or feeling those butterflies in the tummy feelings, because it is actually through age, like a fine wine, that strong feelings and attraction builds. And for someone with Venus in Capricorn, life does actually get better as they get older. Their relationships get better, their career gets better, their money gets better, they build confidence, they build an aesthetic, they build a will, they build that trust fund. Venus in Capricorn knows that life's greatest luxuries cannot be rushed and can't be accessed when you are too young to really fully appreciate them. It is, in fact, time itself that gives Venus in Capricorn all of the pleasures and all of the desires and all of the satisfying connections that Venus in Capricorn is looking for. Aesthetically, this placement is timeless. It is very understated. It loves beautiful tailoring. It loves a good coat. It loves a nice watch. It appreciates cashmere. It appreciates things that, yes, maybe are an investment, but they're going to last you 20 years. Venus in Capricorn would rather own one incredible piece than 20 like fast fashion mediocre ones, because quality is greater than quantity. And we know that time is the ultimate test. And if something can withstand the test of time, then that's something that Venus in Capricorn can really get behind. Now, on a bad day, Venus in Capricorn struggles with treating its lovers like its colleagues, or even worse, its employees. So this placement does need to learn that delegating is not the same as being in love. You know what I mean? I understand that building something sustainable is a value to you, Venus in Capricorn, but you can also make romance a little more fun and flirty than a quarterly report presentation. Please, I beg of you. Now, for those with Venus in Capricorn, trust that your best manifestations will come to fruition with time. Capricorn is one of the strongest manifesting signs of the entire zodiac. And you, being the final cardinal sign, the final earth sign here, are a long game person. So don't settle for less than the 20-year dream plan that you know you deserve. Trust it. Find a little ease with it. Relax into it. And watch it come to fruition, because your eye is on the prize. You are willing to climb the mountain. And you know what? You're also going to enjoy the view. If your Venus is in Aquarius, you love the freak-a-leaks. You are a freak-a-leak. You identify with the fringe, les weirdos, anyone who is like kind of an oddball. You're like, oh my God, who is that? Because you value originality. You value authenticity, people who are unapologetically themselves. Venus in Aquarius doesn't need someone to complete them. it wants to be with someone so fascinating that it is always going to keep them on their toes and keep them guessing. Now, this placement respects commitment. Aquarius is a fixed sign after all, but it also refuses to follow the rules simply because someone said so. Venus in Aquarius reminds us that love is always evolving, right? Relationships are evolving, society is evolving, our understanding of what a couple looks like is evolving. There is a willingness to imagine realities that are different than the one that you grew up in. And that is one of Venus in Aquarius's greatest gifts. With a Venus in Aquarius, you are someone who can easily find yourself falling in love with your friends, falling in love with a concept, falling in love with a passion. You are actually someone who would love to sort of like ruminate on what is even love in the first place. Is it lust? Is it desire? Is it hormones? Is it a chemical reaction? Is it a pathway to understanding our unhealed childhood wounds? It can be a little clinical, but that sort of medical vibe is also just your style. It's giving a little doctor play, and we love to see that for a Venus in Aquarius. Aesthetically, Venus in Aquarius always has one thing about them that makes you stop and stare. Okay, maybe it's like very cool eyeshadow. Maybe it's a silver jacket that's giving like astronaut. Maybe it's hand making all of their clothes because this version of Venus in Aquarius rejects modernity, right? And they are not buying anything ever again. So whether you are rebelling against the future or you are living in Tomorrowland, Venus in Aquarius loves to push the envelope wherever it can, including in its style. The lesson for Venus in Aquarius is realizing that intellectual intimacy and emotional intimacy aren't always the same thing. Sometimes Venus in Aquarius can explain its feelings so brilliantly without actually ever feeling them. And then that connection sort of falls flat. But my friend, somewhere deep down, you, Venus in Aquarius, are still a human. And humans need to be pet and rubbed and held and touched from time to time. So don't be afraid to be attracted to someone who might be a little bit more handsy than you. Just because you're like, what are these things? Your hands, doesn't mean that you can't be with someone who craves a little bit more physicality. Now, a pro tip for manifesting with a Venus in Aquarius is not to underestimate the power of your community, period. Share your ideas, build your network, support other people's dreams, like help other people realize your dreams, because that is going to come back around to you. And when you think big, not just about what you want, but about what others want and what society needs, sort of like evoking the star card of tarot, you realize that nothing is off limits. There are no rules. Anything can happen, and you can transform your life in an instant. If your Venus is in Pisces, oh my goodness, don't tell the others, but we really did save the best for last, divas. Venus is exalted in Pisces, making it one of the most celebrated placements for Venus, nary for astrology at large. Exaltation means a planet is like absolutely thriving, living, laughing, loving in a zodiac sign. And for Venus in Pisces, it is because, honey, we are really talking about love, unconditional love, devotional love, love as compassion, love as art, love as imagination, love as magic, love as the ultimate sacrifice, love as the ultimate healer, love as music, love as painting, love as abstraction, love as psychic abilities, love as prayer. It's love, baby. It's so stunning, and it makes the world go round. Now, Pisces is traditionally ruled by Jupiter before Neptune was discovered. So this Venus understands abundance as deeply spiritual, okay? It values empathy and creativity and intuition, synchronicities, goosebumps. Meeting someone who somehow feels familiar and totally unknown all at the same time, and then falling in love with them and losing yourself completely and moving to a lighthouse out at the sea. Venus in Pisces reminds us that life is filled with mysteries, and a lot of these mysteries are not meant to be solved. They are just meant to be experienced on a physical level, on a psychic level, and most importantly, on a spiritual, all-encompassing, comprehensive, full mind, body, spirit level. What can I say? Now, aesthetically, Venus in Pisces is ethereal. It's flowy dresses, it's soft knits, oceanic colors, pearls, bare feet on the beach. It also somehow is always giving a little like deadhead, a little festival chic, okay? Which means that yes, Venus in Pisces can also do like rhinestone sunglasses and like a neon tassel duster, but it's all because that's part of the wandered out of a dream kind of look that Venus in Pisces cultivates truly without ever even really trying. Now, of course, Venus in Pisces must learn boundaries. Do you hear me? Boundaries, baby, boundaries. Venus in Pisces will give and give and give until there is nothing left, because on one hand, that is kind of what Venus in Pisces wants to do. But on the other hand, it just feels like that's Venus in Pisces' responsibility, is to save everyone. But honey, you should never feel like you need to sacrifice so much. And if you do, if a relationship or a dynamic is putting you in that position, honey, it's time to swim away. That's not healthy for you. Now, if you have Venus in Pisces in your chart and you want to manifest, I want you to manifest, okay? Trust your intuition. Dream, visualize, create art, turn your art into prayer, turn your prayers into meditations, turn your meditations into spells. Let yourself believe in miracles, because honey, you attract them. If there is anyone who can have a Hail Mary at the very final hour, right? Like right before things really, really turn, it's you. You are someone who can turn the entire ship around and make something from nothing. You really are pure magic. So let that become an integral part of any manifestation work you do. What did you think about today's episode? What resonated? What did you learn? Where is your Venus? Where is your crush's Venus? Where is your partner's Venus? Where is your mother's Venus? T. Of course, let me know in your comments. Let me know in those 5-star reviews. Let me know, because you are telling your friends and your family all about AstroloTea, and they are coming and joining our community too. And we're all together having a cosmic kiki, having the time of our life every Monday and every Wednesday. So make sure to follow and subscribe right now so you never ever miss a brew. I will be back on Monday with your horoscope, and then on Wednesday again, and then on Monday again, and then Wednesday again. Honey, I'm here all the time. I live here. You live here too. I hope. Live here. Move in here with me. Okay. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you soon. Bye.